Alrighty, we are live on our in-depth plunge into the Kamandi Lost Boy on Earth universe created by Jack Kirby. This is going to be an issue number 4, and we're doing issues 1 through 20 because Jake and I are very influenced by this comic book series, and since so much that um, the playground in which Turbo exists is a post-apocalyptic backdrop. Now you also have a copy of an original copy, printed copy of Commanding number 4. So
Yeah, I think I have all the rest between 4 and 20 in
oh,
my
nice.
box here, but I do have some damage problems, some cutouts boxes every once in a while, but
Well, if
yeah,
you
we'll
come
survive.
across something and you want to, inspect it further in depth with that issue, then give me a shout out, and then I'll switch the camera over. Um,
Yeah, no
and
problem.
we'll check it out. But here
Yeah,
for
but
this, go ahead.
I just want to say, like, it's been really interesting to see your Treasury Edition omnibus package where you have all of the commandees reprinted into one huge volume. But people should know, and we spoke about this before, that the color is redone, and we're not exactly sure how they redid it, but you can see that it's all neat and it's all in register and it's all vibrant, and the original experience was not the same.
Yep. So, and the experience of purchasing the comic book when it hits the stand, because we both were getting our comics from non-comic book store places. Mine was a 7-Eleven. So, there's something there about waiting for the book, and then when you get the book, head to your, bedroom or your clubhouse or whatever, and devour it. And as soon as you've devoured it, it goes into your box or bag or whatever it was that you were collecting them, to be brought out later, obviously for a treat, reviewing, which I think is one of the things that makes comics very addictive is the accessibility of them being within arm's reach, pulled out, put on the table, bam, you just start, you know, reliving how excited the comic was the first time you read it. So, with that being said, um, this one is chapter 1 is the Devil's Arena. This is pretty cool, you know. I like stuff like this, like right out of the gate. He's with Ben Boxer and the boys, and they've come across a stash of old comics magazines. I found some of the old comic magazines that are still quite readable. And this is a copy of Demon that Jack did. So that's pretty cool,
Yeah. So,
non-wise.
and here you can see it's a little clunky the way they recreated the demon, the cover of the demon comic, which is nice and straight, and they just kind of inserted it into this
Yeah,
cutout of this
yeah,
contoured page where it should have been, like, folded and creased, and it should be in perspective and everything. But those are the kind of shortcuts. Obviously, Kirby was plugging his demon comic, which I think was probably his bigger property in his mind, because in his mind back then, Kamandi was just a Planet of the Apes, assignment that he was given. Um, but it's funny, what you were just mentioning about reading comics and getting into comics. Why comics are interesting is Kirby has Kamandi kind of getting distracted by this comic. When these guys are trying to load up cans and supplies that they scrounge in this Las Vegas wasteland, Kamandi is notably talking about comics for the first page or two. So that is, Kirby projecting, onto the reader, like, yeah, get into comics. Like, they're engrossing. If you really get into it, you want to get more of them. So that's where Commandy's dialogue is, which might remind us. Yeah, he's a young kid. We don't know how old he's supposed to be, but he's a youngster, and the that age group gravitates to comics.
Yes. Another sweet double page spread. Um, not a lot of action, but what a hell of a way to reestablish us in the post-apocalyptic landscape. Um, and they say here, in the reminder at the top, disaster, natural disaster of cyclopean proportions. Man is no longer the master of all he surveys, and once lowly beast has reason to bid for this power. So we're, you know, very much fending, in survival mode. But here's Kamandi, grabbing what's important to a young person, a comic book.
Yeah, and
So pretty
on this
cool.
double page spread here, they explain that this is suburban Las Vegas. So this is like
Yeah.
the outskirts of Las Vegas City.
Hmm.
And you wonder, we know Kirby lived out west. So you wonder if he was driving through and he patterned this after somewhere where he'd actually been. You kind of see mountain ranges in the back, and then these kind of like flat, shopping strip mall type, areas here. Um, the destruction is like complete. Everything's in decay. But here you see like a lot of great black and white interplay, right? Strong areas of black, strong areas of white. So there's a sense of balance all throughout. And then these characters, it's Ben Boxer and not sure the other guy's name.
Yeah, this is like Renus.
But they are in these kind of like astronaut type get ups, which reminds you of Planet of the Apes, which is a huge hit. And had these astronaut guys roaming this wasteland, and trying to figure out what's going on. So you wonder if he was just grabbing that element right out of the movie and just plopping it into the comic to speed along his process.
Yeah, this is Renzi. Uh,
Right.
yeah, I wish he would have put a movie up here though. So it says movie tonight, 6:30, 8:30, 11 o'clock. So it would have been funny to see if, like, it'd be, if they actually put the Planet of the Apes up there. That would have
Right. Well, they
been
that was the audience they were going for.
right.
Yeah, I think this is the movie theater right here, or maybe yeah, and this might have been the marquee. So, but here's a missed opportunity. But there's signs everywhere. The Hobbs, Carpets, Henderson Shopping Center, and it's kind of like the remnants of the, the the society the way it was, frozen in time when everything got bombed out or whatever. So yeah, a big double page spread, and this is a good establishing shot showing all of the you know once you do a big double page spread and you set up like the setting, then you can go right to action and you don't have to refer back to it anymore. It's kind of implanted there in the reader's mind.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the repetition in layout from being used here as the cover, and then kind of flipping the composition to get another um, take on it. Um,
Yeah, so you can see on my copy here, you have really just you know aged paper, and you know the colors are washed out. The registration, the printing, it's all not that hot. And your copy, it's like bright, clean, vibrant, perfect. So just wanted to show you that. I think my ice pack is melting, so I'm gonna have to get this out
Are
of the
you
way.
crimping?
Yeah, this could have been really bad if it would have fallen on some art, but I'm gonna get this thing back in the fridge. Yeah, so real interesting stuff. If we're moving along, um, the characters are going to get airlifted into a dirigible-like aircraft, which is taking Kamandi's friends to a mysterious place called Tracking Site. Kamandi has been accepted as an additional crew member, and it seems like there's already some tension in the story because Kamandi is kind of like lollygagging reading these comics, and he's dragging up the rear, and they say there's a car coming, and they don't know who's coming, and they need to get up in the sky and get the hell out of there, right? He says, I heard something. Look up. I heard something in this area. It could be any kind of animal with the faculty to use a dangerous weapon. Look about you. Be cautious. And I speed it up, you dudes. I see some kind of vehicle headed this way. Once he gets up in the sky, and they're just sitting here wisecracking, and then they get attacked here by these tigers. So we're
The
already
Great
in the
Caesar's tigers.
right. So they're part of an army, and they have these kind of like throwback vehicles, like they look like chariots. Um, and so as we're in the future, we're also in the past, right?
Yeah, we're
And
always leaning back into the past for cool
and
names.
they're making fun. So this is kind of like the inner titles page where it says edited, written, and drawn by Jack Kirby, lettered and inked by Mike Royer. Um, they're shooting at Kamandi. Here we see how he uses the ropes to break up the panel, right? And to really
Yeah.
give that kind of like curvature, that flow. Um, and the big action scene, this one's got it all. They're making fun of this animal. They're calling him an animal.
Yeah.
And they're he's trying to get up in the balloon now to get away. And I guess in the next page 6, story page 6, he's going to get up onto the balloon, and he'll be fine, although they don't explain why they don't just shoot the balloon, I guess. I don't know if that's a story inconsistency.
Maybe they're not that smart.
Or maybe they don't care that much.
Yeah, they just don't have any concept of balloon, hot air and stuff. So
Right. It says so Kamandi is pulled into the balloon, and he says, "Look, our tigers are turning tail. They've made a sharp U-turn and they're taking off." And then Ben Boxer says, "They must sense danger. My guess is they came here to look around. My next guess is that they're a scout party for a larger force waiting in the desert." And Kamandi says, "That dune chariot sure is maneuverable. Wait, I hear something." And then I need to look at yours because mine is missing.
missing. It must have been a favorite panel of yours to cut out because it's an action.
Oh,
Everybody's
yeah, that's when we see the
the gorillas
gorillas.
are all scrambling.
Okay. So it's
So
going to be the tigers versus the gorillas.
yeah, it's a great shot here in the foreground of one of the gorillas with the dynamite stick in his mouth like a cigar, lighting it up, and then they're throwing up.
Right. So yeah, and the gorillas, right, have their they have their uniform too. Um Hold it right there, pull up, or we'll shoot to kill. You heard us. Slow down and surrender your weapons. Buzz off, you grunts. Get out of our way. Arrogant swine, we'll stop you. Throw your boomers, men, and use the minimum strike sticks. We don't want to kill them, just shake them up a bit. And they're throwing their sticks. I guess you had to light them and then hurl them, so there wasn't any kind of like grenade type things. Haha, great Caesar's legionnaires. They're more like pampered, puffed up zombies. A reconnaissance unit. They rode in looking for action and got it. And we'll give them lots more when they come back here looking for more. Run, you chewed up cats. Run back to Great Caesar and give him our message. And then you notice one of them got dumped in the blow up. Pick him up. So I imagine that's Prince Tuftan that we're
Yeah.
going to meet.
Yep. So we've got us a real prize. Tufton,
Right.
Great Caesar's son.
He's wearing a royal headband. I guess that's not
Yeah.
smart to do when you're out in the field, but he did it. Great Caesar's son. That I don't know if that's supposed to be a joke on Great Caesar's ghost, which they used in Superman
No, I
comics,
think
right?
Caesar's the leader of the Tiger Men.
Right, but I
This
think,
is his.
but he's saying it's Great Caesar's son. He's just describing him, but that also reminds you of the
Right.
expression "Great Caesar's ghost," which I believe they used in Superman comics, right?
No, I didn't read.
And Kamandi and the astronauts are looking on from above. This was only a small skirmish. There's going to be a large scale battle here soon. I see it, Kamandi. Now they're turning their attention to us. If they damage the airbag, we'll fall. Oh, so I guess they did figure
There
this
you
out.
go. There you go.
And
Mortars.
because Prince Tufton is going to turn out to be an ally, that's why he didn't shoot the balloon down. We'll
Ah.
be on. He says we'll be underway as soon as Steve checks the air tanks. And he says, brace yourselves, the guerrillas are bringing up mortars. And just then, fatump, that jolt really shook us up. We're lucky to be alive. I wish Steve would get this balloon moving. Uh-oh, gas shells. Get down and press your face to the floor. The gas shells erupt in billowing vapor, which spreads and rolls and hides the air traveler in a cloud of noxious chemicals. So here I'm getting the original ads, and here you can see all these love patches and peace signs, and black is beautiful.
Did you have
Woodstock.
a jean jacket when you were growing up?
No, I got one later on.
Yeah, I got one, I think, in high school.
Yeah, but
But I
these are
never
all.
got into the patches thing.
No, I never bought them at the time either, but I buy them now. I like the patches now. Sometimes I put them if I have a hole in an old pair of jeans. I just use that instead of sewing it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah, I would have gotten that STP patch because I was a big, was it Richard Petty fan?
yeah, and it's funny, like these ads raised a little bit of money for Marvel, but for DC, but not too much enforcement here on copyrights. Here you see Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band patch, Felix the Cat, Popeye, Flash Gordon, American flag. They have the Confederate flag here. How about that? That was not a not a no no. Um, and but there was a kind of a range of things. USA drinking team. Um, they had pollution. War's not healthy for children and other living things. 75 cents each when ordered separately. Pay only 69 cents each for three or more. And this was all offered by Gandalf Products, PO Box 38, New York, New York 10022. So not a fly by night organization. Um, anyway, back to the story.
Back to the story.
Story page 9. Nothing moves when the gas vapor's clear. That is, except the grappling hooks which shoot up from below to grip the lines of the air traveler. And now they're going to turn this spindle, which brings the air traveler down, and they're going to capture these gassed out characters, Kamandi and it seems to Commander that he's floated for ages on a sea of darkness. He feels a strange prodding and the faint return of light. Wake up, wake up. So he's had enough sedation to pacify him. Throw this animal in with the rest of the new herd. So he isn't special after all. I thought he was like the others we took from that balloon. So they noticed that Ben and Renzi are special. Huh, animals that talk and wear clothes. It sure gives one creeps. Cut that out. What have, says Kamandi, what have you done with my friends? Where are they? So this, I believe, is kind of, and then we go on to story page 10. This is kind of reminiscent of the Kamandi cartoon, where they do capture Kamandi. The gorillas capture him and they put him into like a little slave group or a little, detainee group. But yes, story page 10, they put him into a pit with a bunch of other savage humans. And Kamandi gets no reply. He's prodded onto the edge of what was once a swimming pool. Okay, there you go. Stop cat. Remember, we're in Vegas here, the outskirts of Vegas. Stop caterwauling, you animals. Control those cattle. They're making enough noise to shatter these walls. And so now I'm a little confused why they call Kamandi the last boy on Earth if there's clearly a bunch of other humans here.
But none of
Maybe.
them are boys. They're all
Uh,
old men with
no,
beards.
no, no. I see a boy right here. Look on
I know.
the rightmost character in the swimming pool. It sure looks
Yeah.
like a boy.
Yeah, right here.
There's a woman here. And they're drawing a topless woman here.
Yeah,
She's off,
topless. I guess
she's off in the distance, so you can't see stuff. But
nipples.
um, the animals are what's left of the human race. Reason has long since fled them. They wander the face of the earth to be rounded up in herds by the new masters. So I believe that you did get into that in the first Planet of the Apes movie, right?
Yeah.
Right. And so this is really just Kirby templating the movie. He hasn't really he's taking the major elements of the movie, putting them into this comic. And you know, I guess that's just considered a rip off, copycat, whatever. But we didn't realize at the time that he was creating, a new derivative product that was going to be so cool in its own right. Kirby probably didn't even realize what he was doing back then. He was just filling out the clock and generating pages, for his bosses.
He's a
And
professional.
yeah, but as the story, progresses, he's thinking about how to change it. What's going to be different, what's going to be the same, and he ended up creating the Kamandi world. So here we see Kamandi's rejected by the other humans who are drawn like hairy and unkempt and barbaric. Look, he's new here. I don't like him. That, right? The worst, instincts of humans, to reject anybody who's new, right? No compassion or no, sympathy. So
You
he'll
got
take.
we got to you got to wonder though if that was stolen from for Star Wars when the guy he doesn't like you. I don't like you. And in the
Right.
bar, the cantina, this isn't the Luke Skywalker, the young
Well,
blonde-haired,
Star Wars
naive
wouldn't be out for
boy.
another 6 years, but
Four.
but
Yeah, because this is 70. I think this is 72.
well, yeah, this comic was March 1973, right? So yeah,
Right,
four
right,
yeah
right.
four
Yeah,
years
70. This was,
4 years and change later would be the
yeah.
first Star Wars. But yeah, Kamandi has to fend for himself immediately. Stop him, kill him. They see he's getting pushed around. Kamandi fights back. Not so fast, you mindless, smelly fools. He clocks one of them, clocks another one. They say, he's hurting us with his hands. Kamandi says, they have no conception of precision fighting, but there's enough of them here to crush me. So apparently humans have regressed in their thinking, and maybe that's Jack Kirby being prescient about what's going on nowadays. um, so yeah, story page 11. They're poking Kamandi with a stick. Stop! You down there, stop that brawling, or I'll stuff your threats. Oh, and Commander says, stuff your threats back down your pocket. But he thinks, that's it. This big ape could be my way to freedom. So you're the talking animal I've been hearing about. Your mouth's bigger than I heard it was. And then Commander says, you're all wind yourself. Without that big stick, you couldn't fight a grounded goose. And then he's purposely taunting the gorillas. Ha ha ha, that little beast sure knows how to needle a guy. Give him a poke, that'll quiet him down. More He'll get more than a poke. I'm going in after him. Be my guest, you blundering idiot. They'll have to carry you out, says Commandy. We'll see about that. Come on, I'm waiting for you, Beefy. And he takes the bait and he climbs down the ladder into the pit with the stick. The gorilla's eyes blaze red with fury. When he reaches Commandy, he's ready to kill. You can't get out of this now, animal. Your carcass will be worthless when I'm through with you. You're a dreamer as well as a fool. So, lots of trash talk here as Commandy uses his wits to lure the gorilla into the pit. Um, he attacks on the next page. I'll shut your wagging tongue forever. You missed, clumsy. Pow. The angered gorilla leans heavily on his staff as it strikes the ground. It's the moment Commandy's been waiting for. What? Now, conk. Now. So Commandy just like kind of kicks him out and jumps over his body. Commandy puts all he can behind his speed and timing. He leaps over the downed gorilla. Risk not, gain not. This had better work, or this hairy behemoth won't leave enough of me to dust off a chair with. Commandy grabs the guy's gun from his holster and removes his weapon in one fluid moment. You tricky little beast, you've swiped my gun. Come back with that, you. I'll send it to you when I reach my next mailing address. So long, dunce. Here we can see
That's
a
great.
little bit. So it's interesting to see the scale of the character. The gorilla's much bigger than Commandy, so you imagine he's moving around. He's a lot more nimble. And then story page 13, Kamandi just totally shoots the guy right in the stomach. Uh,
Boom,
of
wham.
blam, if you try to take it from me. So now it's a shootout. The sound of the shot brings quick reaction. Kamandi finds himself with a shootout in the guards, in a shootout with the guards. An animal dropping a guard with his own gun. And I know how to use it too. How's that for shooting? So apparently the other humans didn't know how to use a gun. And now Kamandi is leading all of these humans. He tells them, and you, the choice is yours too, freedom or death. Can you understand me? And then they say, we see the ladder, we can escape. And Kamandi says, thank heaven for little miracles. Let's go, follow me, and fight for freedom. So within moments, Kamandi has led the humans that were being kept in a swimming pool pit into freedom, and they're all is climbing the ladder now and running to escape, led by Kamandi, who's got himself a gun. Kamandi's fellow humans swarm out of the pit behind him, and they bellow and shriek and stampede like a herd of steers. Go, go! Kamandi's hope is that the fleeing escapees will cause enough diversion to help his own chances. Alert, alert, the animals are loose. Sorry, I can't stop to chat. And he's just shooting these apes left and right, but they don't show you like any blood. It's just kind of like a little blast where the impact is, and the person seems like they're just falling. So we don't know whether these are like stun guns or something, or
Yeah, like a
whether these are
concussion kind of thing.
or whether they're bullets that like make the person die and bleed out. They just kind of leave that for now. Um, Meanwhile, the streets begin to fill with alarmed guerrillas. How do they get out? Where are the guards? So this is kind of like the guerrilla citizenry of the area. Never mind, round them all up, hop to it. And I like the colors here in this panel. So these are not the uniformed guerrillas; these are just like the other ones. And yeah, it's interesting how Kirby's doing some of these noses. like some of them look like they're kind of like bat noses, like they're so
Yeah.
like undefined. But
Well, that
here
could have
they're
been Roy or kind of maybe misinterpreting whatever pencil lines were there.
yeah, maybe that's it.
He
A
didn't
lot of
have a he didn't have a good grasp of ape noses yet.
yeah. And yeah, so you're not seeing the ads here. Now training at home to be a veterinary assistant, North American School of Animal Sciences, Newport Beach, California. You could also send away for a magic brain calculator, some snowstorm tablets, vampire blood, hypno coin, or a potato gun for just $1 to American Circle Corp. Satisfaction guaranteed, Belmore, New York. Um, Yeah, and there's another ad here for a giant book bargain page, and which is kind of weird. Some of these ads are selling books, some kind of book reseller. The Brady Bunch in the New York Mystery, Debbie Preston, teenage reporter in the case of the Gypsy's Warning, Debbie Preston, teenage reporter in the Hollywood Mystery. Travel with Debbie as she tries to unravel a baffling mystery that threatens to destroy an all star TV show starring Donny Osmond, David Cassidy, and Michael Gray. And you could buy that book for $1. So I don't know if this sounds like fan fiction. Somebody was printing, was cranking out quick print books, and this ad is unbelievable. 1974, they're selling these, Brady Bunch books. I don't know if they have the rights to this or not. There's a picture of the Brady Bunch on the cover of the book. I never heard of such stuff. But here they are in the ads. Terribly out of register. $1.25 for these books, and I guess that includes add 50 cents for postage and handling. And so yeah, God forbid it was God forbid it was more than like a couple of pennies to ship in those days. Wow.
Yeah.
And then here they're also promoting Superboy comics, 100 pages, only 50 cents. That was going to be coming out on or about February 6th. Um, and then we're back into the story. So, story page 15 now. Kamandi has kind of escaped the immediate danger, and oh no, wait, I'm missing a panel. Sorry. So why don't you take this one? Story page 15.
Right.
What do you got at the top of the page?
Let's see. In the evening, ensuing chaos, Commandy dodges hunters everywhere. Like a swift, wily fox, he darts for cover wherever
So
he can
I notice
find it.
all the animal references. The humans are acting like cattle. The monkeys are calling them, or the apes are calling them swine and calling them cattle.
Yeah,
Everything's like an animal reference, which is funny.
yeah.
But yeah, Commandy gets into these little catacombs. He races along the narrow space, but he still hears the sound of pursuit. This won't be safe for long. I'll try crawling through that duct ahead. So here he's doing exactly what Trophy Girl's doing in our latest episode of Turbo Pit Fighter.
Yeah.
Um, the
Episode
duct,
29.
yes, the duct widens and narrows in places, but it allows me comfortable passage. I wonder where it leads to, and apparently it leads to a hole in the wall where there's a prison cell, and Prince Tuftan is being kept. We don't know his name yet, but he's eating in comfort and relaxation. He says, "It seems I've got company." I gotta say again, right off the bat, that his face is not very defined either. Some of these markings are a little unusual. They're just like black and white balance to it, but it's not very defined what his tiger stripes of his face are all about. But he's crawling out of the wall. And Tufton says, "Well, I didn't suspect that there was an animal in that duct. Are you hungry? Here, boy, try some of this." And Kamandi says, "Don't call me as if I was some kind of pet. I'm smart enough to get my own food if I want to. Don't look surprised. I can talk as well as you." And we're going to move to the
It's a
next.
great panel. That's a great panel. Putting
Yeah.
milk down for him.
However, I'm in as much trouble with the gorillas as you are, so I'll accept your offer. Um, yeah, we're seeing some scale here. It looks like Kamandi's smaller than the tiger character. Um, I can't see what Tuftan is saying on the upper right.
You're welcome to it. I'm really amazed that you speak as you do. An articulate animal. Who'd have guessed it?
Right. So Kamandi says, read the history books, my friend. You'll find that my kind invented spoken language. And Tufton says, now that's really hard to believe. And they get into a face-to-face arguing match. Is that so? Well, I might add that we ruled this world when your ancestors were kept in zoos. And he says, that's enough. And Kamandi says, you can't take a blow to the ego, eh? Well, you're not as clever as you think you are. And he says, if you mean my being imprisoned here, forget it. I like it here. Kamandi replies, garbage. You could have escaped through that duct if you tried, but you didn't think of it, did you? Tufton says, my plans don't include squeezing my way through ducts. It's important that I remain here. So, you're a cat who likes his prison, eh? Why? What's so special about these dumpy quarters? And he says, it's the right place to be when the right moment arrives, which is alluding to the amassing army here in the very next panel.
Outside the walls.
And outside the walls of the guerrilla outpost, an army waits for the right order. Battalions at ready, artillery launch battering rams, rams away. And you can see these rocket catapults have been launched with these ram heads. All troops
That's
forward.
cool.
And here we see above the ridge, there's an army of cat warriors. The battering rams have smashed through the gates. We're under attack, and Caesar's leading the charge with a gun in his hand. They're all riding horses, which I guess have not been turned into anthropomorphic characters. um, and
Talking horses.
so we're already on page 17 and of this comic, and they're charging. And in the next panel, um, story page 18, yeah, I'll point out sometimes Kirby went with these Kirby and Royer went with these like heavy panel borders that kind of give you a black frame to the action.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good call.
And
Just noticing it.
yeah, and it just makes it a little special sometimes. Not sure when they do that and when they
It's
don't,
like a
but
frozen moment.
yeah, kind of like it kind of frames it like a painting in a way,
Yep, yep, yep,
some
yep.
reminds you of some famous battle paintings,
Or like in a movie, it'd be just a montage of action.
right?
Because you got a guy falling over here, guy swinging over here, such and such, guy screaming, people making their way, guns firing and stuff. So definitely, the
And
horse wheel.
yes, and so we see here, there's gunfire, there's battering rams and all kinds of weapons here. Um, I I want to kind of use this in Turbo Pit Fighter. They have the text that's not in any panel. It's just kind of lying
Yeah,
around on the background, and
yeah.
you got these explosions and smoke, and of course, using the Kirby dots for great design effect. But you know, they're in the middle of the war, and he's using the narrative to just explain in a passive voice. The devil's arena is war. Its sides are built of bones. Its fields are blazing infernos, and upon them the deadly game of conquest has been played eternally by man and beast. In Commandy's world, the master of the game is Great Caesar. Now, I gotta point out, this was written and developed and everything by Jack Kirby. So here, Jack Kirby is in the role that Stan Lee used to do when Kirby was at Marvel, and I don't know if I like it as well. Kirby's voice and his clarity. and storytelling, planning, and everything. It's just not Stan the man. Stan had a way with words and a way with phrases, and he had a way of thinking forward and ahead at the same time. So it's basically the same format of comic making, right? Where I'm sure he just like wrote in all this stuff as they were finishing up. He probably did the art, and I don't know if he just had like little side notes, or if he maybe penciled it in lightly and then they come in and they clean up the lettering later with the inking. um I'm not sure how the workflow exactly went. um Mike Royer could probably tell people, but just in terms of creating the comic, going from the basic story and then blocking out all of the art and then adding all the final text. um this blurb here, it's kind of saying something and not saying something at the same time, right?
Yeah, I do get curious though if there is some editorial input because he has been called upon to make this story. So there could have already been pre-existing conditions that they wanted to meet. And you know, I, I don't know really anything about Kirby's writing style other than he's penciling it in, writing it in as he's penciling the comic. And so when those pages get, mimeographed or printed, however it is, and then sent back to New York, for approvals or just some type of edits, there could have been something coming back saying, like, yeah, let's make sure everybody is aware of the great Caesar, master of the, because then we can move Caesar into this situation and his son and blah 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 blah. I don't know. I'm speculating there,
Yeah, I
but
mean,
yeah,
Mike Royer is credited with doing the lettering. So
yeah.
um
Well, it's
first of all,
yeah.
he's
Go ahead.
he's an amazing letterer. You look
Yeah,
at his letters, it looks like he's just as good as a dedicated guy that only letters. um but we don't know whether this was lettered right onto the original art, or whether this was pasted on and little paste ups.
yeah.
you
It's
know
good. Yeah, good
um
question.
yeah, and so I sent you a photo about a week or two ago of a black and white Kamandi art edition that I saw at Forbidden
Yeah,
Planet, the comic book store in
yeah,
New York City. And I couldn't browse it because it was up on a high shelf and I believe it was shrink wrapped. But
yeah.
I really wanted to look through it and leaf through it, because if it has the original art, you can see everything that was dabbed with white out, everything that was like pasted over. Sometimes you would just literally take a brand new panel and cut it out of a piece of cardstock and just paste it over a panel that you didn't
Yep,
like.
yep.
They did all of the above, everything and anything. I mean, if we look at this opening page where they have the demon comic reproduced, that was probably something called a Velox, where they take the artwork for demon and they shrink it down using photographic paper, and basically like a photocopy, but they called them photostats.
Stat.
Yeah,
Yeah,
photostat.
photostat.
Um, so that, and same thing with the Kamandi type, that we see here on page 5. I don't know if they just lettered that in, reinvent the whole wheel, or if they got brought that in from somewhere else.
I'm
And
sure
then
somebody's done a YouTube video flipping through that artist edition. I'll see if I can find
yeah,
something on YouTube.
right. I mean, and so this is really technical stuff, but we're just wondering how it worked, because they used to just crank this stuff out so fast. I mean,
Yeah,
it's just the amount of time that they spent on this, versus how much time people are analyzing it. We probably are not appreciate how like fast paced the production of all this stuff was.
Yeah, I don't think people today really have any clue or relationship in that. You know, and the idea of deadline. You know, I think one of the art forms lost in comics nowadays is hitting a deadline. Now, we are completely outside of the trying to make a monthly book, obviously, because of the restrictions of time that we have. Um, but there is something to be said about somebody really pushing themselves, or a group of individuals making a book where that book comes out in a consistent behavior, you know. But then at the same time, what difference does it make nowadays whether you're getting a book once a month, or you've got to wait 2 years to get 6 issues of a book, and then it has um, a collection, a trade paperback, and everything. So I mean, things have definitely have moved outside of what the expectations were in production, comic book wise, in the mid
Yeah, I
'70s.
remember in the 90s, I worked under a deadline. I was doing some
Yeah,
pencils for
yeah,
Comic Zone, and
yep,
it takes all the fun out. It takes all the fun out.
yeah, yeah. And then when you want it, you know, when you're in your 20s and you want to go out and party and drink, and everybody else is, and you're stuck there for 3 days trying to get everything done, you know, and then you're waiting six months or more for your check, you
Right.
know. Yeah, it was highly contradictive, but at the same time, that you know, you weren't, you know, if you weren't going to fulfill that, then somebody else was going to fulfill that. So, and live in the mom and dad's basement.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's finish up this issue here because we're on chapter three, the waiting secret. Um,
Yeah, so
and
so they have this mega battle here between the tigers and the gorillas. Caesar's forces fight their way into the gorillas' stronghold. Destruction spreads as the fury mounts. Right? So you can do a lot with just like a caption, right? That you can't really show, like and from a cell window, Kamandi listens to the sounds of the battle grow with intensity until the firing begins to spatter the walls all around him with shell and flame. Wow, this place is becoming real hazardous for neutrals. Um, Turn the page. We're on story page 19, and we're on chapter 3, The Waiting Secret. And Kirby explains there is a mysterious facet to this fight, which becomes more evident to Kamandi as he watches his tiger cellmate. The prisoner's muscles tighten like steel. He presses against the cell bars without uttering a word, waiting for his stampeding guards to clear the corridors as they rush to join the battle. Kamandi senses that beyond these walls is the struggle, but it's in here it is its real meaning, the waiting secret. So the gorilla guards, are rushing past their cell door, and then as soon as the corridors are empty, Tuftan just uses his big leg and just kicks out the door. It's time to leave.
big
Crash.
old foot,
You were
big
right
old
about
foot.
that cell. It was small and dumpy. And then Commandy says, You sure waited for the right moment to escape, as if you knew it was coming. You were waiting for the battle to start. You're part of its strategy. And Tufton says, This is where you and I go our separate ways. Too bad. You were getting interesting. I just want to point out this panel on the top of page 20 is amazing. You have both of these characters in Kirby's like foreshortened advancing poses. And then you have the fire, the flames, the debris, the Kirby dots, the ropes hanging down. And it's just like, this is what it's all about. Like Kirby is great here, and these two characters shake hands in the next panel. Somehow I almost regard you as an equal. If we should meet again, call me Tufton. My name's Kamandi, and I must admit I've enjoyed your company. Goodbye. And Tufton takes off down the corridor, and Kamandi is thinking about his own, I guess, skulking away. I should be on my way to find Ben Boxer and his friends, but I can't help finding out what Tufton is up to. So the deeper Kamandi penetrates the structure, the more he learns about the gorilla prison. So the guerrilla prison is built on the remains of a pre-disaster air base, and we see a lot of signs around for Air Force. And page 21, in the deepest section of the installation, Kamandi finds the structure almost untouched by time. There, Tuftan stands, lost in wonderment and fascination. Kamandi thinks, equipment, armament, and repair shops, all still usable. So this is what Tuftan is after. But then Kamandi steals silently forward and gasps at what confronts him. Great day in the morning. I was wrong on all counts. Tuftan has struck the jackpot. It is another survivor of the great disaster, a giant testament of man's once great destructive power. It still stands as if waiting to take to the skies. Perfect, the perfect tool to serve great Caesar's plan for conquest. From your design, we'll build others like you. And then Kamandi notices a flamethrower sitting around untouched through the centuries. I've got to act now. That flamethrower is just what I need. Caesar will fill the skies with flying machines and crush all who resist him. Kamandi takes it upon himself. He's going to destroy this thing. Tuftan, stand aside. You, what's that you've done? No, you fool. That thing shall never fall into Caesar's hands. It must die with the past. And Kamandi shoots. Man's follies must never return to oppress him. He must get the chance to rise again. You'll pay for this, you. Kamandi puts the plane on fire. As the great plane burns, Kamandi suddenly finds meaning in his existence. That must be my job from now on, to see that humans get their second chance. Interesting. Then explosion follows explosion as Kamandi and Tuftan race from the Holocaust, which is swallowing a conqueror's dream. Boom! So I guess the plane is exploding, and Kamandi and Tuftan are just escaping on the fringes of destruction. But folks, this is what they call deadline crunch, because we're looking at 1/6 of a page panel, and this giant explosion of this untouched fighter plane is exploding. And Kirby's like, you know what? I'm done with this comic. So he's just gonna make it like a bunch of, blast panel lines, some radial lines, and not too much detail on the explosion. Next month, Tuftan's revenge, Caesar's anger, guerrilla ferocity. Kamandi faces them all to find things. But when overwhelming doom descends to stop him, Kamandi must find the one-armed bandit. So if we go back to the chapter title, the chapter 3, we really only get 1, 2, 3, 4 pages in the final chapter. Yeah. And there's 22 pages of art here in this comic. So we have a lot of ads here. And then after that, we have the 2 pages of lettering of letters to the editor. And it's really sparse. It's really thin. You can't see this in your edition, but you can see they have a half a page here that went unfilled, and they put in like a third of a page ad in this space. So it's literally just like open space here, in a DC comic that's just completely empty. So they were filling up space here, and then here you just have these ads that you see everywhere: the toy soldiers, drafting kits, architectural drafting, mechanical drafting ads. So this was definitely done on deadline. The deadline did rear its ugly head at the end when Kirby kind of had to just kind of finish up the last page. Maybe if you would have had another page or a little more space on this page, you could have had a more interesting explosion to make it more.
It would be cool as a last page splash.
Yeah. Have
Even
a nice
if you had to put this like 1/6 of a square down on the bottom right-hand corner, it still would have made a big impact.
Yeah, he could have squeezed it all in, but you know, he sounds like he wrote himself into a corner here. I mean, I have to say, like, we spent a lot of time earlier in the comic just, you know, standing around contemplating, you know, why the balloon was taking so long to lift off,
Yeah.
or you know, ruminating on you know, why you know, Tuftan is in the cell and he's not getting himself out. There's a whole page there. But all in all, you gotta say there's so much action in here. This is why I
Oh
love
yeah.
Kirby's comics. The battering rams, the, you know, here they did not skimp on the scenes between the gorillas and the tigers. Um, you know, the just a great job in just conveying this world and, you know, the situation. Kamandi is kind of like this fly on the wall for this big battle between these two tribes of animals, you know. So definitely a lot of value there.
Right. Yeah. No. Um, it's definitely paced very, very well. Um, you know, the
Except for that
22 page
very, very
count.
last panel. Yes, exactly. Except for the very last panel.
Right. Right. So
um, so next issue will be number 5, and then after that, number 6, where we get to meet Flower. So that'll
yes.
be fun.
Yeah.
But yeah. So we welcome you guys to tune in to the next edition, where we're going to go over Commanding number 5. I believe I have a copy here somewhere in my box. I'll pull it out by then. But in the meantime, thanks for hanging in there and appreciating Jack Kirby's Kamandi as much as we do.
Yes, definitely. All right, Jake. I'll see
Uh,
you next week.
all right, Kurt, take care.